Choose, my daughter-in-law said without blinking. If your mother stays in our lives, I'm leaving. My son didn't look at me. He looked at the floor, took one slow breath, and answered with a single word that shattered everything I believed about the family I had spent 40 years building. I smiled before anyone else could see my heart break, and that smile would become the biggest mistake they ever underestimated. They thought I was walking away in defeat. They had no idea I was walking toward the truth. By the time they realized what I knew, the choice they had forced on me would become the choice that changed all of their lives instead. I never imagined the quietest moment at a family dinner could echo louder than any argument. My name is Eleanor Whitmore, and I was 68 years old when I learned that betrayal rarely arrives wearing an angry face. More often, it comes wrapped in polite smiles, carefully chosen words, and people pretending they only want what is best for you. That evening, the dining room looked exactly as it always had. The oak table still held the tiny scratches my late husband, Charles, had laughed about after decades of family dinners. The warm light above us painted everything in soft gold, making the room appear peaceful enough to fool anyone looking through the window. Olivia had insisted on hosting dinner to bring everyone together. Her exact words when she called 2 days earlier. Daniel sounded strangely distant on the phone, but I convinced myself grief still lingered after losing his father 18 months before. Families stumble after loss, I reminded myself. They find their way back eventually. I carried a homemade apple pie through their front door, kissed my son on the cheek, and noticed something I could not explain. Daniel hugged me for barely a second before stepping away. Olivia welcomed me with perfect manners, but her smile never reached her eyes. It felt rehearsed, polished, almost as if she had practiced it in front of a mirror. We sat down, exchanged harmless conversation about work, neighbors, and the unusually warm spring weather. Yet beneath every sentence was a silence that seemed to grow heavier with each passing minute. Then Olivia carefully placed her fork beside her plate, folded her hands together, looked directly at Daniel instead of me, and quietly said, "It's time. She deserves an answer." I looked at Daniel, waiting for the little boy I had raised to appear somewhere behind the worried man sitting across from me. Instead, he kept his eyes fixed on the table as though the wood grain held an easier answer than my face ever could. The silence stretched so long that even the clock on the kitchen wall seemed louder than usual. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Mom," he said softly, "Olivia and I have been talking about what is best for our future." Those words landed harder than if he had simply rejected me outright. They were carefully chosen, polished until they sounded reasonable, yet every syllable carried the weight of a decision that had already been made. Olivia reached for his hand, giving it a gentle squeeze without ever looking at me. She did not have to speak. She knew she had already won. I glanced around the room, noticing framed family photographs lining the shelves. In every picture, Daniel stood beside me with an arm around my shoulders. Birthdays, Christmas mornings, graduation day. The memories seemed to belong to strangers now. I folded my napkin carefully onto the table and took a slow breath. My late husband had always told me that people reveal their true character when they believe there is nothing left to lose. As I watched my son struggle to justify the choice sitting in front of him, I realized I was no longer witnessing a difficult conversation. I was watching years of quiet influence reach the moment it had been building toward all along. Daniel finally lifted his eyes, but they did not hold anger. They held exhaustion. The kind that comes after someone has spent years believing another person's version of reality. I knew that look because I had seen it growing little by little. It had not begun with harsh words or dramatic arguments. It had started with canceled Sunday lunches because they were suddenly too busy. Then came the holidays divided into careful schedules that somehow always left me with the shortest visit. Phone calls became text messages. Text messages became silence. Every change seemed reasonable by itself, but together they formed a bridge that carried my son farther away from me, one quiet step at a time. I remembered the first Thanksgiving after Daniel married Olivia. She smiled warmly as she explained that her parents had already made plans, so we would celebrate with me another weekend. That weekend never came. Christmas followed the same pattern. Birthdays became rushed dinners. Family traditions slowly disappeared beneath the comforting phrase, "We are just trying to keep everyone happy." Looking back, I realized nobody had been trying to keep everyone happy. Someone had simply become very skilled at deciding who belonged and who did not. I felt an unexpected calm settle over me. My heart still hurt, but confusion had disappeared. For the first time in years, every missing invitation, every awkward excuse, and every uncomfortable silence fit together with perfect clarity. I looked at my son and quietly understood that this evening had not changed our family. It had only revealed what had been happening all along. Daniel finally spoke the sentence he had been rehearsing long before I walked through the front door. "Mom, maybe it would be healthier if we had a little more space." He could not even bring himself to look at me after saying it. Olivia lowered her eyes, pretending the conversation was breaking her heart, but the corners of her mouth relaxed ever so slightly, as though a burden had finally been lifted. I could almost hear Charles whispering in my memory that people often reveal more through what they celebrate than through what they mourn. I reached for my glass of water instead of defending myself. The quiet surprised them. I think they had expected tears, raised voices, or desperate pleas. Instead, I simply asked, "Is this truly what you want, Daniel?" The room became so still that even the refrigerator humming in the kitchen sounded unusually loud. He hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "I think it is the best path forward." Best for whom, I wondered, but I kept the question to myself. I folded my hands, smiled gently, and thanked Olivia for the lovely dinner. Confusion flashed across her face for just an instant. My calm did not fit the ending she had imagined. As I stood and picked up my purse, I noticed a thin folder resting beside Olivia's chair, partially hidden beneath a linen napkin. She quickly slid it out of sight, believing I had not seen it. I walked toward the front door without another word, but the image of that folder stayed with me all the way home, and for reasons I could not yet explain, I knew the evening was far from over. The drive home felt shorter than usual, although I remembered almost nothing about the roads I traveled. My thoughts kept returning to that thin folder disappearing beneath Olivia's hand. It was not the paper itself that unsettled me. It was the urgency with which she had hidden it after believing I was no longer paying attention. The next morning, I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat on the back porch where Charles and I had spent countless quiet mornings together. Before I could take my first sip, my phone rang. It was Grace Collins, my oldest friend. She did not waste time with small talk. She asked one simple question. What happened last night? I had not told anyone about the dinner, yet somehow she already sensed something had changed. After listening without interrupting, Grace became unusually quiet. Then she said something that made my stomach tighten. "Eleanor, I almost did not mention this because I thought it was none of my business, but I saw Daniel and Olivia leaving Harrison Legal Services 2 weeks ago." My heart skipped a beat. Michael Harrison had handled Charles's estate years earlier. There was no reason for them to visit his office without telling me. I stared across the backyard as dozens of forgotten moments suddenly connected like pieces of a puzzle. Whatever had happened at that dinner had never been the beginning. It had been the final step in a plan that was already well underway. Grace offered to drive with me, but I thanked her and declined. If there was something I needed to learn, I wanted to hear it with a clear mind and no assumptions. That afternoon I called Michael Harrison's office and asked whether he had time to meet. He sounded surprised to hear my voice, then quietly said he could see me the following morning. His tone alone told me more than his words ever could. I spent the rest of the day opening old file cabinets Charles had organized with almost military precision. Every document had a label. Every receipt had a date. He had always believed that careful records protected a family long after memories began to fade. As I sorted through folders, I found a sealed envelope with my name written in Charles's unmistakable handwriting. Beneath it was a small note that read, "Only if you ever feel something is not right." I did not open it immediately. Instead, I rested my hand on the envelope and closed my eyes. Charles had always noticed danger before anyone else did. Yet he never acted out of fear. He acted out of preparation. For the first time since that dinner, I realized I did not need to argue with anyone or convince anyone of my worth. I only needed to understand exactly what Charles had already anticipated years before, because somewhere inside those carefully preserved papers, the real story had been waiting for me all along. Michael Harrison greeted me with the same quiet professionalism I had known for years, but the warmth in his expression faded the moment he closed his office door. He asked whether anyone had encouraged me to change my financial plans recently. I answered honestly that no one had asked directly, although the conversation at dinner suddenly made much more sense. He nodded as though he had expected that response. Without saying more than necessary, he opened a file and placed several documents on the desk between us. I recognized Charles's signature immediately. My husband had created a detailed estate plan that was designed to protect me first, then provide for Daniel in the future. There were safeguards, conditions, and instructions that Charles had never discussed because he believed they would only matter if our family ever stopped acting like a family. Michael explained that no one could alter those arrangements without my informed consent, no matter what assumptions had been made. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by something else. If the legal protections were still secure, why had Daniel and Olivia visited this office without telling me? Michael hesitated before answering. Then he quietly admitted that they had come asking questions about transferring property and accelerating future inheritance. They had left disappointed, but they had also left believing I would never know they had asked. At that moment, I understood that silence would become my greatest advantage. Over the next several days, I did something that surprised even me. I stopped reaching out. I did not call Daniel. I did not defend myself. I did not ask for another conversation. Instead, I followed Michael's advice and quietly reviewed every document Charles had left behind. The sealed envelope contained a handwritten letter filled with the steady confidence that had always defined my husband. He wrote that love should never require surrendering dignity, and if I ever found myself pressured into making decisions out of guilt or fear, I should slow down and let the truth reveal itself. Those words became my compass. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a cheerful message from Olivia inviting me to a family gathering the following weekend. She explained that everyone wanted to put the recent misunderstanding behind us. The invitation sounded warm, almost thoughtful, but something about its perfect timing made me pause. Less than a week earlier, I had been told that distance was best for everyone. Now I was suddenly welcome again. Grace read the message over my shoulder and quietly raised one eyebrow. Neither of us believed in coincidences anymore. I accepted the invitation with a polite reply, then placed my phone face down on the kitchen table. If they believed I would arrive carrying nothing but forgiveness, they were about to discover that quiet people often notice far more than anyone expects. The family gathering felt almost identical to every celebration we had shared over the years. Yet this time I noticed details I would once have ignored. Olivia greeted me with unusual warmth, offering to take my coat before guiding me toward the dining room with practiced kindness. Daniel smiled more than he had at our last dinner, but it was the smile of a man hoping a difficult chapter had already ended. I returned every gesture with quiet courtesy, never allowing my thoughts to show on my face. Throughout the afternoon, the conversation drifted from vacations to home improvements and then, almost effortlessly, toward the future. Olivia casually mentioned how complicated it could become for families when important paperwork was left unfinished. She laughed lightly, insisting she was only speaking in general terms, yet her eyes searched mine for the smallest reaction. I offered none. Instead, I thanked her for the wonderful meal and complimented the beautiful table she had prepared. The room relaxed. They believed I had accepted everything exactly as they hoped. What they did not know was that Michael had already arranged every document I needed, and Charles's letter remained safely inside my handbag. I had not come to confront anyone. I had come to listen, observe, and allow every person at that table to reveal exactly what mattered most before it was finally my turn to speak.